Most people would never pick up these stones. They look too plain, too cloudy, too ordinary to be worth anything, and that's exactly why they're so often overlooked. Because some of the world's most valuable white gemstones don't reveal their true worth at first glance. What looks like a piece of broken glass, a river pebble, or an ordinary white crystal could actually be worth thousands of dollars. In this countdown, you'll discover 10 white gemstones that fool almost everyone. Why they look so inexpensive, what experts see instead, and what makes the finest examples so valuable. Let's begin. Number 10. White zircon. At first glance, white zircon doesn't look like a gemstone worth thousands. It has no deep blue color like sapphire, no vivid green like emerald, no dramatic flashes of rainbow light that immediately capture attention. In its natural form, it often appears as a pale, transparent crystal with a slightly weathered surface, making it surprisingly easy to mistake for ordinary quartz, broken glass, or even a cheap imitation gemstone. That first impression is exactly why so many people overlook it. The irony is that white zircon isn't usually mistaken for another natural gemstone. It's mistaken for something that isn't natural at all. Because its name sounds almost identical to cubic zirconia, millions of people assume they're looking at the same material. But they couldn't be more different. Cubic zirconia is created in a laboratory. White zircon was created by the Earth itself. Long before the first dinosaur walked across the planet, long before flowering plants appeared, and long before humans existed, zircon crystals were already forming deep within Earth's crust. Some members of the zircon mineral family have survived for more than 4 billion years, making zircon one of the most important minerals scientists use to study the earliest history of our planet. Yet none of that extraordinary history is visible from the outside. A rough white zircon keeps its secrets remarkably well. Without careful examination, its quiet appearance reveals almost nothing about the optical beauty hidden inside. That's why experienced gem cutters never judge the crystal by its rough surface alone. Before the first facet is cut, they study its clarity, internal features, crystal orientation, and natural shape, searching for the greatest potential hidden within the rough. Only then does the transformation begin. As each facet is carefully polished, the stone slowly comes to life. Light no longer passes quietly through the crystal. Instead, it begins reflecting back with surprising brilliance, while flashes of colorful fire appear across the surface. The dull crystal that once looked almost worthless suddenly displays a level of brightness that catches the eye in a completely different way. But appearance alone still doesn't determine value. Most white zircon on today's market remains relatively affordable. The specimens that command thousands of dollars are the rare exceptions. Stones with exceptional transparency, outstanding clarity, expert cutting, attractive size, minimal damage, and exceptional overall quality. Finding all of those qualities together in a single natural crystal is far less common than most people realize. That is why experienced collectors never dismiss white zircon simply because it lacks bold color. They understand that the stone's greatest strength has never been its appearance. It's the remarkable quality hidden beneath an appearance that almost everyone underestimates. And if white zircon can spend a lifetime being mistaken for an inexpensive imitation, the next gemstone faces an entirely different problem. It doesn't look like an imitation at all. It simply looks too ordinary to be valuable. Number 9. Goshenite. Unlike most valuable gemstones, Goshenite never tries to catch your attention. Place a rough crystal on a table, and there's a good chance you'll walk straight past it. It doesn't glow with rich color. It doesn't produce dramatic flashes of light. Its surface is often so clean and so quiet that it can be mistaken for nothing more than a piece of quartz collected during an afternoon hike. That quiet appearance is precisely why Goshenite is so often underestimated. The crystal doesn't advertise what it is. It waits for someone who knows where to look. Viewed up close, its shape begins to tell a different story. Instead of the rounded forms common in river-worn stones, Goshenite frequently grows as long, naturally formed hexagonal crystals. Their smooth faces and sharp edges reveal a slow, orderly process that took place deep underground, where heat, pressure, and mineral-rich fluids allowed the crystal to grow over immense periods of time. Then comes the detail that surprises many people. Goshenite isn't an unrelated white gemstone trying to imitate something more famous. It is genuine beryl, the very same mineral species that produces emerald and aquamarine. The difference is not the crystal itself, it's the chemistry. Emerald owes its green color to tiny amounts of chromium and vanadium. Aquamarine gains its blue from iron. Goshenite formed without those coloring elements, leaving the crystal almost perfectly colorless. What many people mistake for a lack of character is actually evidence of remarkable chemical purity. Ironically, that purity also makes the gemstone far more demanding. With no color to disguise imperfections, every tiny inclusion, polishing mark, and internal fracture becomes easier to see. A cutter cannot rely on vivid color to distract the eye. Every facet must be placed with exceptional precision because the crystal succeeds or fails almost entirely on its transparency, symmetry, and the way it returns light. That is why truly exceptional Goshenite is uncommon. Most rough crystals never become fine gemstones. Some contain visible fractures. Others lose too much weight during cutting, while many simply lack the transparency needed for high-end jewelry. Only a small number possess the combination of size, clarity, and cutting potential that transforms an ordinary-looking crystal into something collectors actively seek. From a distance, it still doesn't look expensive. Even after polishing, many people would choose a brighter, more colorful gem without a second thought. Yet experienced buyers understand that value is not always announced by color. Sometimes it is hidden in purity, crystal quality, and the rarity of finding a specimen that nature formed with almost nothing to hide. If Goshenite teaches us that a gemstone can be overlooked because it lacks color, the next stone is overlooked for the opposite reason. It looks almost too soft, until light begins moving beneath its surface. Number 8. White moonstone. Resting quietly in the palm of your hand, white moonstone can seem almost disappointing. Its surface is soft rather than dazzling. Its body is cloudy instead of crystal clear. Without bright color or sharp flashes of brilliance, many rough pieces resemble ordinary white pebbles, polished smooth by years of flowing water. Even after cutting, some people mistake it for inexpensive glass or decorative stone because nothing about its appearance immediately suggests rarity. Then the stone moves. Tilt it only a few degrees beneath a beam of light, and a pale blue glow begins to drift across its surface. It doesn't sparkle like a diamond or burst into color like an opal. Instead, the light appears to float inside the gemstone, sliding silently from one side to the other before disappearing just as quickly as it arrived. That mysterious effect is known as adulorescence, and it is the reason moonstone has fascinated gem cutters for generations. The glow isn't painted onto the surface, it isn't created during polishing. It forms because of the gemstone's internal structure. Deep within the crystal, extremely thin layers scatter light in a way that produces the soft floating sheen that makes fine moonstone instantly recognizable. Without that internal structure, white moonstone would look like little more than another pale feldspar crystal. But even with the right structure, nature offers no guarantees. Most rough moonstone never develops a strong blue sheen. Some pieces appear dull from every angle. Others produce only a weak flash that disappears almost immediately. Only a small percentage display the broad, vivid glow that seems to move gracefully across the stone, and finding that effect in material with good transparency and minimal fractures is far more difficult than its quiet appearance suggests. That is where craftsmanship becomes just as important as geology. Before cutting begins, the rough is turned again and again beneath a focused light. The cutter isn't searching for color, they're searching for direction. The dome of the finished cabochon must be positioned so the floating glow appears in the strongest possible place. Rotate the crystal incorrectly, and the effect that gives moonstone its identity may almost disappear. The difference can be extraordinary. Two white moonstones may appear nearly identical before cutting, yet one finishes as an ordinary gemstone, while the other displays a luminous blue sheen that collectors immediately recognize. Those exceptional examples, especially larger natural stones with strong, centered adulorescence, attractive transparency, and fine craftsmanship, can command prices far beyond what their quiet appearance would ever suggest. White moonstone never competes for attention. It rewards patience instead. Its greatest beauty cannot be seen in a single glance. It only appears when light, angle, and crystal structure work together in perfect harmony. And while moonstone hides its value behind a moving glow, the next gemstone conceals something even more dramatic. At first, it looks like a piece of dull white stone. Then, suddenly, an entire spectrum of color comes to life. Number 7. White opal. Few gemstones are judged more unfairly than white opal. Before it is cut and polished, it can look surprisingly lifeless. A rough piece often resembles a dry white pebble or a fragment of weathered pottery with a dull, chalky surface. There is no obvious brilliance, no deep color, and nothing that immediately suggests it belongs in a fine jewelry collection. If you didn't know what you were holding, you could easily mistake it for an ordinary rock and leave it exactly where you found it. Yet hidden inside that quiet white body is one of nature's most extraordinary optical displays. The secret isn't on the surface. It's buried within the gemstone itself. Unlike most gems that owe their beauty to color created by trace elements, precious white opal creates color through structure. Deep inside the stone are countless microscopic silica spheres arranged in remarkably orderly patterns. As light enters the gemstone, those tiny spheres bend and separate it into different wavelengths, producing flashes of red, orange, green, blue, and violet that seem to appear from nowhere. Gemologists call this play of color. Collectors simply call it unforgettable. But not every white opal displays that magical effect. Many specimens contain irregular silica structures that scatter light without producing vivid flashes. Others show only faint patches of color visible from a single angle. These stones may still be attractive, but they remain far less desirable than exceptional material, with bright, broad flashes that dance across the entire surface. That difference is impossible to appreciate from the rough alone. Before cutting begins, experienced lapidaries carefully examine every piece under strong directional light. They slowly rotate the rough, searching for hidden color bars inside the stone. A few millimeters can determine whether the finished gem reveals a brilliant display of color or almost none at all. Every cut is planned to expose the strongest natural pattern while preserving as much of the precious material as possible. The finest white opals seem almost alive. Color rolls across the surface as the stone moves, changing with every shift in light. One moment it burns with fiery reds and oranges. A second later, cool blues and brilliant greens quietly replace them. No two exceptional opals perform exactly the same way, making each one visually unique. That is why outstanding white opals can command prices that surprise people who judge them only by their pale appearance. Their value isn't found in the white body color itself. It lies in the brightness, range, pattern, and intensity of the hidden colors locked within. White opal teaches a simple lesson. Some gemstones don't reveal their greatest beauty immediately. They make you earn it. And the next gemstone proves that even without moving color or floating light, a perfectly colorless crystal can still become one of the most desirable white gems in the world. Number 6. White sapphire. For most people, sapphire has only one color: blue. Mention the word, and almost everyone imagines the deep royal blue gemstones displayed behind the glass cases of luxury jewelry stores. That image has become so familiar that when sapphire appears without its famous color, many people fail to recognize it at all. White sapphire is the perfect example. Without its iconic blue, it looks surprisingly restrained. In rough form, it can resemble an ordinary pale crystal covered by a dull outer skin that hides almost everything happening inside. Even after polishing, its quiet appearance often causes buyers to mistake it for inexpensive glass or assume it is merely a substitute for diamond. But white sapphire isn't pretending to be anything else. It is sapphire in its purest colorless form. The only thing missing is the trace element that would have transformed it into the rich blue gemstone the world immediately recognizes. That single difference changes its appearance far more than its identity. Beneath the surface, white sapphire remains corundum, one of the hardest natural minerals used in jewelry. With a hardness of 9 on the Mohs scale, it ranks just below diamond, giving it exceptional resistance to scratching and making it suitable for jewelry designed to be worn every day. Yet hardness alone has never made a gemstone valuable. What matters is the quality of the crystal itself. The finest white sapphires begin with rough material that is exceptionally transparent and remarkably free from visible inclusions. Those crystals are uncommon. Many rough stones contain fractures, cloudy areas, or internal features that limit both their beauty and their cutting potential. Others lose a significant amount of weight as cutters remove imperfections to reveal the cleanest possible gemstone. Unlike colored sapphires, white sapphire cannot rely on vivid color to capture attention. Everything depends on precision. Every facet must be positioned to maximize the way light travels through the stone. A slight change in angle can mean the difference between a gemstone that appears bright and lively and one that seems flat and lifeless. The cutting process doesn't create beauty. It uncovers the beauty already hidden inside the crystal. That is why exceptional white sapphires stand so far apart from ordinary commercial material. Large natural stones with outstanding clarity, expert cutting, attractive brilliance, and minimal treatment are significantly rarer than their quiet appearance suggests. They are appreciated not because they imitate another gemstone, but because they demonstrate just how elegant sapphire can be without relying on color. White sapphire never competes with blue sapphire. It tells a completely different story. One proves how extraordinary color can be. The other proves that even without color, an exceptional crystal can still command admiration and, in the finest examples, remarkable value. But the next gemstone takes quiet beauty even further. It doesn't shine because of color. It doesn't glow because of optical effects. Instead, it built its reputation by fooling generations of experts into believing it was something far more ordinary. Number 5. Phenakite. Some gemstones hide their value behind color. Phenakite hid behind an entirely different disguise. Long before modern gemological laboratories existed, transparent crystals like this repeatedly confused the people who discovered them. Their clean appearance, sharp crystal faces, and glass-like transparency made them look remarkably similar to ordinary quartz. At first glance, there seemed to be no reason to believe they were anything else. That mistake happened so often that it eventually inspired the gemstone's name. Derived from the Greek word phenax, meaning deceiver, Phenakite became known as the crystal that fooled experienced observers, not because it was artificially altered, but because nature had made it look deceptively familiar. Even today, an uncut phenakite rarely attracts immediate attention. It doesn't display dramatic color. It doesn't produce fiery flashes like precious opal. It doesn't glow like fine moonstone. Its beauty is quiet, almost understated. Many rough crystals appear as transparent or slightly milky prisms that could easily be mistaken for common mineral specimens by anyone unfamiliar with their true identity. But appearances reveal only the surface. Phenakite forms under geological conditions very different from quartz, and its crystal chemistry gives it properties that gemologists immediately recognize once proper testing begins. Its exceptional hardness, impressive transparency, and natural brilliance allow the finest material to produce gemstones with a crisp, clean appearance that few people expect from such an unassuming rough crystal. Finding that quality, however, is far from easy. Most phenakite crystals never become fine gemstones. Many are too fractured, too small, or too heavily included to survive the cutting process successfully. Others are preserved as mineral specimens because their natural crystal form is considered more valuable than any faceted gem they might produce. Only a limited number combine exceptional size, outstanding clarity, and cutting potential. Those are the crystals that attract serious collectors. To the untrained eye, they may still resemble little more than unusually clear quartz. To an expert, they represent one of the more elusive gemstones in the collector's world, a material that is encountered far less often than many of the famous gems displayed in jewelry stores. That contrast is what makes phenakite so fascinating. The stone never changed, only the observer did. The moment knowledge replaced assumption, an ordinary-looking crystal became something entirely different. Perhaps no other white gemstone in this countdown demonstrates more clearly that appearances can mislead even experienced eyes. And if phenakite built its reputation by looking like quartz, the next gemstone reaches for an even more astonishing reason. Before it is cut and polished, many people would never guess they are looking at one of the most valuable gemstones on Earth. Number 4. White jadeite. If you placed a rough piece of white jadeite beside a polished marble tile, many people wouldn't notice much difference. Neither one sparkles, neither one flashes brilliant colors, and neither looks like the kind of gemstone that could command an extraordinary price. Some rough pieces are covered with a weathered outer skin that hides almost everything beneath. Others appear dull, chalky, or slightly greasy, giving them the look of an ordinary river stone rather than a treasure waiting to be discovered. Without knowing what to look for, it's easy to assume that every white jadeite boulder is much the same. That assumption has cost countless buyers the opportunity to recognize exceptional material. Unlike transparent gemstones that reveal much of their beauty immediately, white jadeite keeps almost everything beneath the surface. Its true quality is measured by characteristics that casual observers rarely notice. Its texture, translucency, and the incredibly fine network of microscopic crystals that gives the stone its unique appearance. Hold an exceptional piece beneath a strong light, and something unexpected begins to happen. Instead of reflecting the light sharply like glass, the finest jadeite seems to absorb it. A soft glow develops beneath the surface, creating an almost living appearance that collectors often describe as luminous. The effect is subtle, but once you've seen it, ordinary material is difficult to mistake for exceptional jadeite ever again. Creating a valuable gemstone from rough jadeite is also an exercise in patience. The outer surface rarely reveals what lies inside. Hidden fractures, cloudy zones, and changes in crystal texture may remain invisible until the stone is carefully examined. A single cut in the wrong place can destroy the most beautiful section of the rough, while a thoughtful decision can reveal a gemstone that looks completely different from the dull boulder it came from. That uncertainty is one reason fine white jadeite is so highly respected. Large pieces with outstanding translucency, exceptionally fine texture, minimal fractures, and no significant treatment are far less common than their quiet appearance suggests. Those rare combinations can transform a stone that many people would dismiss as ordinary into one that attracts serious collectors and premium prices. White jadeite never relies on bright color to impress the eye. Its beauty is quieter than that. It rewards careful observation rather than instant attention, revealing more with every second you spend looking at it. Perhaps that is why it continues to surprise people. The stone itself never changes, only the way we see it does. And while white jadeite conceals its value beneath a calm, almost humble appearance, the next gemstone hides something even more remarkable. Its beauty doesn't come from color, it comes from light itself. Number 3, colorless topaz. Colorless topaz has a problem that begins the moment someone sees it. It looks too ordinary. Without the famous golden glow of imperial topaz or the vivid blue shades that made topaz popular in modern jewelry, this nearly colorless crystal is often dismissed as nothing more than quartz, glass, or an inexpensive decorative stone. Even rough specimens rarely demand attention. Their clean, transparent appearance gives away almost nothing about the quality hidden inside. That first impression is exactly why exceptional examples are so easy to underestimate. Unlike many gemstones, colorless topaz doesn't rely on dramatic color to create value. It relies on something much harder for the eye to judge: crystal quality. The finest crystals are exceptionally transparent, remarkably clean, and large enough to produce impressive finished gemstones. Finding all three qualities together is far less common than most people imagine. During the crystal's long journey underground, tiny fractures, trapped minerals, or internal stress often interrupt its growth. Those imperfections may seem insignificant, but they can dramatically reduce both beauty and value. For cutters, a rough topaz crystal is less about what it is today and more about what it could become. Every face of the crystal is examined under bright light. Natural fractures are mapped. Inclusions are carefully located. The cutter must decide how to preserve the greatest possible weight while revealing the clearest, brightest part of the stone. Remove too much material, and the finished gem becomes smaller than necessary. Remove too little, and hidden flaws may remain visible forever. When that balance is achieved, the transformation is striking. The quiet crystal that once looked almost forgettable begins reflecting light with crisp brilliance. Sharp mirror-like flashes replace the dull appearance of the rough stone, revealing a level of elegance that was impossible to recognize only moments before cutting. It still doesn't compete with gemstones, famous for bold color, but it no longer needs to. Its beauty comes from purity, precision, and light. That is also why not every colorless topaz is valuable. Commercial quality material is widely available and often affordable. The stones that command significantly higher prices are the rare exceptions. Large natural crystals with exceptional transparency, excellent clarity, expert cutting, and outstanding overall condition. Those qualities transform an overlooked crystal into a gemstone sought by collectors who appreciate quality over color. Perhaps that is colorless topaz's greatest lesson. A gemstone doesn't have to be brightly colored to be extraordinary. Sometimes the most impressive quality is the one that almost everyone overlooks. Number 2, Danburite. If you found a rough Danburite crystal in a box of ordinary minerals, there's a good chance you wouldn't even pick it up. Danburite usually appears as a pale, transparent crystal with clean faces and a glassy luster. To anyone unfamiliar with gemstones, it looks remarkably ordinary. So ordinary, in fact, that it is frequently mistaken for quartz. At a quick glance, the two can appear almost identical, especially before either crystal has been cut. That simple mistake has caused countless beautiful specimens to be overlooked. Yet Danburite is anything but ordinary. It forms under geological conditions very different from quartz and is found in far fewer locations around the world. Large, clean crystals suitable for fine gemstones are uncommon, and discovering one with exceptional transparency is considerably more difficult than its modest appearance suggests. Its greatest advantage is also its greatest disguise. Because Danburite is naturally colorless, the crystal cannot rely on vivid color to impress the eye. Everything depends on purity. Every tiny inclusion, every internal fracture, and every polishing mark becomes immediately visible. There is nowhere for imperfections to hide. That is why gem cutters approach Danburite with extraordinary care. Before the first cut is made, the crystal is examined from every angle. The goal is not simply to produce the largest gemstone, but to preserve the sections with the finest transparency while positioning each facet to maximize the stone's natural brilliance. A single mistake can expose an inclusion that was previously invisible or reduce the crystal's ability to return light. When the cutting is done well, the transformation is remarkable. The crystal that once resembled an ordinary piece of quartz begins reflecting light with exceptional brightness and crisp flashes that reveal a level of refinement hidden inside the rough. It still doesn't shout for attention. Instead, its beauty comes from precision, balance, and an almost flawless clarity that rewards anyone willing to look beyond first impressions. Of course, not every Danburite reaches that standard. Many crystals remain too fractured, too cloudy, or too small to produce exceptional gemstones. But the rare examples that combine outstanding transparency, large size, expert cutting, and excellent overall condition are highly prized by collectors who understand just how difficult they are to find. Danburite proves that rarity doesn't always announce itself with spectacular color. Sometimes it hides behind a crystal that looks almost too ordinary to notice. And that brings us to the final gemstone in this countdown. A stone so familiar after polishing that most people never realize how surprisingly plain and easily overlooked it appears before its true beauty is finally revealed. Number 1. Rough colorless. Diamond, the most valuable white gem that rarely looks valuable. If someone dropped a rough diamond into a bucket of ordinary stones, most people would never notice it. There would be no breathtaking sparkle, no perfectly polished facets, no flashes of rainbow fire, just an unassuming crystal with a dull, frosted surface that might easily be mistaken for quartz, a worn pebble, or an ordinary piece of translucent rock. That is the greatest illusion a diamond has ever created. The gemstone most people associate with luxury begins its existence looking almost nothing like luxury at all. For millions of years, a diamond forms under immense heat and pressure deep within the Earth's mantle before volcanic eruptions carry it toward the surface. Long before it becomes the centerpiece of a ring or appears beneath the lights of an auction house, it exists as a rough crystal that hides nearly everything people admire about it. Its brilliance isn't visible, its fire isn't visible, its true value isn't visible. Everything that makes an exceptional diamond extraordinary is locked inside. This is why experienced diamond buyers never judge a rough crystal by appearance alone. They look beyond the weathered surface, searching for clues hidden within the stone itself. Crystal shape, transparency, internal inclusions, growth patterns, tiny fractures invisible to an untrained eye. Each detail helps determine whether the crystal contains the potential for an exceptional finished gemstone, or whether that potential simply isn't there. Sometimes the most ordinary-looking rough crystal produces an astonishing result. Sometimes an impressive crystal does not. That uncertainty is part of what makes rough diamonds so remarkable. Modern scanning technology can now create detailed three-dimensional maps of a rough diamond before it is cut. Every possible angle is analyzed. Every inclusion is studied. Every decision is calculated to preserve as much beauty and value as possible. A difference of only a few millimeters can dramatically change the finished gemstone's size, clarity, brilliance, and ultimately its value. Only after that painstaking planning does the transformation begin. As each precisely positioned facet is polished, the crystal slowly reveals what it had been concealing all along. Light enters the diamond, reflects from one facet to another, and returns to the eye with extraordinary brilliance. The dull stone that once seemed almost worthless becomes almost impossible to ignore. Yet even then, not every diamond is worth a fortune. Most natural diamonds are commercial quality, and many are relatively modest in value. The rare stones that command thousands, or even far more, combine exceptional clarity, attractive color, outstanding cut, impressive size, and remarkable crystal quality. Those qualities are extraordinarily uncommon, and none of them can be confirmed simply by looking at the rough exterior. That is why rough diamonds perfectly capture the idea behind this entire countdown. No other white gemstone hides such extraordinary potential behind such an ordinary appearance. It doesn't rely on vivid color. It doesn't rely on mysterious optical effects. It simply reminds us that nature's greatest treasures rarely announce themselves at first glance. Sometimes the world's most valuable gemstone is the one almost everyone would have left behind. The world's most valuable gemstones don't always look valuable. As we've seen today, some of the most extraordinary white gems begin as quiet, ordinary-looking crystals that most people would simply walk past. Their true worth isn't defined by appearance. It's revealed through rarity, crystal quality, craftsmanship, and the incredible journey nature took to create them. So which gemstone surprised you the most? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this documentary, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for more fascinating stories about the world's rarest gemstones and hidden treasures. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.